Hello and welcome back to the channel. Good morning. It is December 18th, 1 week away from Christmas Day here in 2025. Thank you for tuning back in to the Mirza show. This is episode number 2. Today we're just going to go through a lot of recent news. I want to, go through some stuff that I think is really important. Today, the biggest event on the docket, I believe, is the Seattle Seahawks hosting the LA Rams. That game has a big ramifications, a chance for both teams to make a big statement. And pretty much this game decides the winner of the NFC West. So a huge game tonight on Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime Video. It's going to be Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit with the call. Hope you're all doing well. That game's going to be great. I actually want to start the show off today with the preview of that game because, that's the biggest game on the board tonight. So we got to talk about it. Both of these teams are 11-3. The Rams are 5-2 on the road. The Seahawks are 5-2 at home. It's going to be in Seattle. We know, I forget, is it called Lumen Field now? I don't even know what that field is called anymore. But, excuse me, this ad is playing. Sorry about that. So we all know it's one of the hardest places to play in the NFL. And it's been that way for a long time. Yeah, it's called Lumen Field. So it's a really loud place. That stadium is designed to be extremely loud. And, the 12s up there, the 12th man, that's what they call themselves, the Seahawks fans. They pride themselves on, having a great home atmosphere. And it's been a while since the Seahawks have been this good. I think it's been since like 2021, I want to say, since they've been this good. So they have not been 11-3 in a while. That was back when Russell Wilson was playing at a very high level with a young DK Metcalf. And, they still had Tyler Lockett there. And things were going well for the Seahawks. Then they had to rebuild. And, wow, they found their guy with Sam Darnold. So Matthew Stafford, so far this year, 37 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions. He's second in the league in passing yards. He's going to get to 4,000 for sure, as long as he doesn't get injured. I think Stafford is the front runner for the MVP. Sam Darnold has had a really good year as well. I mean, the numbers don't look nearly as impressive. 22 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He's got 300 less passing yards. But the record, 11 wins, 3 losses, that's really all that matters. And that's all that anyone really cares about. And I think that, the numbers aren't super impressive, but he's winning games. The last 5 games for the Rams, they're coming off of a really impressive home win against Detroit. And then before that, they destroyed Arizona in Arizona. Before that game, they had lost to Carolina as big favorites on the road. Carolina has been tough this year, but not a loss that the Rams wanted to take. They destroyed the Buccaneers, and then on November 16th, just about a month ago, in LA, the Rams defeated the Seattle Seahawks 21-19. Now, let's take a closer look at that game. Excuse me. Okay. So, I got to be honest, I don't love ESPN the way they have this thing set up, but it's okay. I'm going to stay on this website here. It's not good. It's not good at all. Anyone out there who's looking to, look at what happened in a game, they don't have, the box score isn't easy to find on ESPN. So I'm going to switch over to the score. Trying to find the box score of that first game between the Seahawks and the Rams. Going to be able to pull it up really easily right now. because I just want to see. I want to see what happened in that game. Okay. So, okay, here we go. So in that game, the Seahawks missed a long field goal on the final play. So they were very close to winning the game. The Rams intercepted Sam Darnold 4 times. And they didn't allow a touchdown of the Seattle Seahawks until extremely late in that game, until about 2.5 minutes were left. It was a 61-yard field goal for Jason Myers at the death, and he came up short. I actually remember seeing that field goal attempt. And so, yeah, you know, the Rams' defense is what really led them to win that last game. They did score 3 times against the Seattle Seahawks. Really, really strong defense. Both teams have good defenses. Both teams have good offenses. Both teams are very, very good. Sam Darnold in that game threw for 279 yards. And yeah, so I think we're going to see another really close game. The last time these two teams played, it came down to the last play. You know, Stafford really actually struggled against Seattle. He only threw for 130 yards. That was his season low. And the Rams only managed 249 total yards. Seahawks outgained the Rams by almost 200 total yards in that game. And it was the interceptions, man. It was the 4 interceptions thrown by Sam Darnold that ended up allowing the Rams to win that game. If Darnold does not throw those 4 interceptions, Seattle likely wins that game because they outgained them. They lost by 2 points. They had a chance to win it at the death. And, you know, I didn't watch this game, but I can just infer that the Rams scored a good amount of points off of turnovers. You look at the stats here. Seattle they were more efficient on 3rd down. They had 14 more first downs than the Rams. They outgained them on the ground. They outgained them on the through the air. No sacks by either team in that first game. But the biggest stat was the 4 interceptions thrown by Sam Darnold. 0 interceptions for the Rams. And then also the Seahawks fumbled the ball once and lost it. Or they didn't lose it. No, they didn't lose it. But they did put the ball on the ground. The Rams fumbled and lost a fumble once. Overall, 1 turnover for the Rams, 4 turnovers for the Seahawks. And that was the story in the game. If you look at time of possession, the Seahawks had the ball for 38 minutes. The Rams had it for just 22 minutes. Rams come out on top 21-19. And it's because of the turnovers from the Seahawks. So today, the key for me in this game is the Seahawks and Sam Darnold have to protect the football. No turnovers. If they play a clean game, they're going to come out of Lumen Field tonight with the W and the division lead. I think that the Seahawks outplayed the Rams the last time they played in LA, pretty much across the board in every metric, except for they just turned the ball over 4 times. And that was all Sam Darnold. So if Sam Darnold has a cleaner game, if he plays better today at home, which I expect him to do, the Seahawks are going to win this game tonight. And so, yeah, I think the Seahawks have a wonderful opportunity to win this game tonight in Seattle at Lumen Field. But it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great game. You don't want to miss that one. Make sure to tune in. And one more little tail of the tape here. So you got the Rams, who are 4th in yards per game. They're 2nd in passing yards per game, 8th in rushing yards per game, and they're 2nd in points per game at 30 points per game on offense. That's a really potent offense. Now they're going up against a really potent defense. The Seahawks defense, 4th in yards per game total, 7th in passing yards allowed per game, 3rd in rushing yards allowed per game, 2nd in points allowed per game at 17 points per game. And it's a great 3rd down defense. The Rams have not been a great 3rd down offense. So for me, I think it's going to be a defensive battle. I think Seattle, it's going to be really hard to stop Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua, along with Devontae Adams and others. Is Adams playing in this game? I kind of heard that he may have been a little bit banged up. So, according to Michael Sean Duger of The Athletic, Devontae Adams has been labeled as doubtful for tonight's game versus the Seahawks. That's a huge note that deserves to be obviously put in. That's a huge player that that they're going to be missing in that game. So can they go on the road and win without Devontae Adams? Whew, it's going to be a big question. It's going to be a big ask. Now, on the other side of the ball, Seattle's offense is they're not as good as the Rams' offense. They're just not. But the Rams' defense, they're not as good as Seattle's defense. So the Rams have been below average at stopping the pass all year. They're 19th in the league in passing yards allowed per game. Sam Darnold has this passing offense up to 8th in the league. So I think there's going to be some room for Sam Darnold to throw the ball tonight at home. I think he'll be able to have a nice day. Now, the Seahawks have struggled to run the ball a little bit this year. They're 22nd in the league, a little bit below average, 113 rushing yards per game. The Rams do stop the run above average at 9th in the NFL, 101 rushing yards allowed per game. And the Rams only allow 19 points per game. That's tied for 3rd in the NFL. This Seahawks offense scores 29 points per game. This is such a good matchup. They're so close. It's so tough to call. And it's 2 11-3 teams battling it out for the division in prime time in front of the entire nation tonight on Amazon Prime Video. So don't miss it. Tune in. Enjoy it. It's going to be a great game. And that's it. That's all I got for the Rams and Seahawks. Now I want to move on to maybe let's just take a look at what are the other big games tonight. The NBA's got a big schedule, I believe, because last night there were only 2 games. I was wrong about both of them, by the way. If you watched the show yesterday, I said that the Bulls and the Grizzlies would likely get blown out. Now, I wasn't very educated on the situations going into those games. Ant Edwards did not play for the Timberwolves against the Grizzlies. But both underdogs ended up winning last night. The Grizzlies beat the Timberwolves, and the Bulls beat the Cavaliers. So I stand corrected. We live and we learn. Moving on. Well, you got the Knicks and the Pacers, a rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals at 4 p.m. tonight. You can catch that game on, it's not on national television, so, you're going to have the NBA League Pass, or you're going to have to live in a local New York or Indiana area to watch that game. But a fun rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals. You got the Thunder, who are off to a historic pace, taking on the Clippers. 18-point favorites are the Thunder today. That should be a big one. The Lakers are in action on the road against the Jazz. Lakers trying to continue their strong start to the season. Other than that, there aren't really too many massive there's actually, I don't think there's any big matchups in the NBA today. Best game on the board is probably Warriors-Suns. That's going to be a close game. Both teams, Warriors are under 500 right now, off to a little bit of a disappointing start. But I definitely expect the Warriors to turn it on as the season goes on. It's still early days in the NBA. We're still in December. Still so much of the season to go. And so these guys are still, kind of getting into the flow of things. I expect the Warriors to be in the mix when it's all said and done this year. That should be a really fun game to watch. Suns-Warriors later tonight. You get the Magic visiting the Nuggets. That's going to be a good game. Raptors-Bucks in Milwaukee. That should be an interesting game. Two teams that are trying to make the playoffs there in the Eastern Conference. But yeah, big night in the NBA. I don't think there's any nationally televised games So it's interesting. Let's take a look at the NHL schedule for tonight. See what we got here on tap. So big schedule for the NHL. You got the Penguins visiting the Senators in Ottawa. You got the Oilers visiting the Bruins in Boston. That's going to be an interesting game. I think Boston, they've been playing really well at home, and they've actually surprised a lot of people. They're an interesting underdog to take a look at tonight at plus money. They've played really well at home, and the Oilers have been not good on the road. Boston 12-5 at home. They're 20-14 overall, 7-3 their last 10. So they're playing good hockey, and they've played really, really well at home. Edmonton is 8-9-3 on the road. So 8 wins, 12 losses on the road for Edmonton, and they're 16-18 overall, 6-4 their last 10. So Boston has played better overall the entire year. Boston has played better in this spot at home compared to Edmonton on the road, and Boston has won 7 of their last 10 games. They're just a little bit hotter than Edmonton. So, I just think Boston's going to win this game. I don't know why Edmonton is favored. I understand that, everybody seems to rate Edmonton really highly, and they're, supposed to be a Stanley Cup contender, and Boston's supposed to be a bottom dweller this year. But, I like to go off of what they've done recently, and this tells me that Boston is a really good chance to win this game tonight. So I won't be betting, but if you're betting out there, take a look at Boston Bruins money line. That's it's an interesting spot there for sure. Okay, Kings on the road in Tampa Bay. Yeah, I think that the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to win that game. LA has been so-so on the road, but Tampa's been pretty strong at home. LA's lost 4 games in a row. Tampa's lost 2 in a row. And then it's going to be Phoenix Copley, the backup goaltender for the Kings, going up against Vasilevsky tonight. So, yeah, I think that the Lightning are going to win that game. At home tonight, you got the Canadiens hosting the Blackhawks. Dobish against Spencer Knight. Interesting game. Blackhawks, they started off the year so hot. And, they've kind of taken some steps back. They've lost 3 in a row. They're now 3-7 in their last 10 games. Well, 3-6-1 their last 10 games. I just counted as 3-7. I mean, they do get the extra point for going to overtime, but I look at it wins and losses. I look at it as wins and losses, and yeah, they lost. One game in overtime. They lost 6 games in regulation out of their last 10 games. They're not playing well. Now Montreal also not playing super great. They're 4-6 their last 10, and they're just 8-10 at home. So yeah, I probably wouldn't. I think the Canadiens are going to win, but I'm not 100% confident. But I do think they're going to win. They're the better team. They should win. Sabres Flyers. This is an interesting one. For some reason, the Sabres are sizable favorites here at home, even though I think that the Flyers are just a much better team. Now, the Sabres at home this year have been pretty solid. And maybe it's not fair to say that the Flyers are just a much better team. I think they are a better team, but much better might be a little bit unfair to say. That's a great game. That's a really good game. Flyers-Sabres. That's going to be a fun one to tune into. You got the Kraken taking on the Flames in Calgary. Calgary has actually started to play a lot better recently. They started off horrible. They've started to play a lot better, and at home they've been serviceable all year. So that's going to be an interesting one. Seattle on the road this year, not so good. 5-6-3, so 5 wins, 9 losses overall for the Kraken on the road. The Wild visit the Blue Jackets. This is a really interesting one. The Wild have turned it on. They're 29-5 overall, so 20 wins and then 14 losses overall. They've won 5 in a row. They're 7-3 their last 10. They're taking on a Columbus Blue Jackets team that's 3-7 their last 10. 3-4-3. And at home, they're 7-5-3. So 7 wins, 5 losses, 3 overtime losses. So 7 wins, 8 losses for me. And Minnesota's 8-6-1 on the road. 8 wins, 6 losses, 1 overtime loss. I just think Minnesota's a way better team. I think Minnesota has the much better defense. I think Columbus has one of the worst defenses in the NHL by the numbers, by the stats. And you look at Minnesota's defense, it's one of the best in the NHL. And the offenses are pretty equal. But the difference in this game should be Minnesota's defense. I also think Minnesota has the better goaltender. Wallstedt has been on fire this year, he's allowing under 2 goals per game just for Wallstedt. 9 wins, 1 loss, 2 overtime losses for Wallstedt. Jet Greaves of the Blue Jackets has not been that impressive this year. 8 wins, 8 losses, 5 overtime losses. So 8 and 13 when it comes to just wins and losses. And then he's allowing 2.76 goals per game with a 905 save percentage, no shutouts in 13 starts. Meanwhile, Wallstedt has only started 12 games, and he's already got 4 shutouts, and his goals against average is almost an entire goal better. His save percentage is 30% or 3 percentage points better at 94% compared to Jet Greaves at 91. So yeah, the Wild, I really like the Wild today. I think they're going to win this game against the Blue Jackets. Okay, Maple Leafs visiting the Capitals. That's going to be a really good game, maybe a potential playoff matchup there between the Caps and the Maple Leafs. The Caps have lost 3 in a row, so they're coming in a little bit scuffling, but at home they've been very good this year, and Toronto in general on the road have been pretty bad, 5-7 this season. This should be a really close game, but I do think the Capitals are going to win that game. Rangers Blues. You know, the Rangers, this is one of the most interesting things I've ever seen. They are 12-5-1 away from home this year, which means they are 4-10-3 at home. So I don't even understand that. It makes no sense to me how they can be so good on the road and then at home they're so bad. Like, it just doesn't compute. But the Rangers are a better team than the Blues in this spot. The Blues are awful. They are horrible. They might be the worst team in the NHL. And I just think the Rangers are going to win that game. So that's an interesting one. And then finally, the last game of the night, 7 p.m., the Stars and the Sharks. Jake Ottinger against Yaroslav Askarov, the 2 probable goaltenders. And yeah, the Stars have been one of the best teams in the NHL. Now, the Sharks have pleasantly surprised a lot of people, including myself. 17 wins for the Sharks in 34 games. I never would have thought that. I never would have thought the Sharks would be winning that many games early on this season. So you got to tip your cap to the Sharks. They're a really young team. Macklin, Celebrini, and those guys, they're fighting hard. So give them a lot of credit, and they're on the up and up. So good for them. And that's the entire NHL slate for today. So went through the NBA games that are interesting, went through all of the NHL games. Now I want to cover some just news. Let's just cover some news while we have some time here. So Alrighty. You know what? We'll talk about the NFL tonight or tomorrow. Let's talk about some MLB transactions. Some news from the MLB that we haven't really talked much about the MLB. So let's go ahead and talk about some recent news that have come through. All right. So I'm gonna have to pull this up here. All right, here we go. So we're about midway through the offseason, and I'm looking at Sports Illustrated. Nick Selby wrote this article 5 hours ago. Go give it a read. It's on Sports Illustrated. He's grading every team's offseason so far halfway through the offseason. So First up, you look at the Baltimore Orioles. They added Pete Alonso on a 5-year, $155 million deal. That's going to help the offense tremendously. They also added Taylor Ward in a trade with the Angels. They had to give up Grayson Rodriguez, a very exciting young pitching prospect for them. That's going to bolster the offense big time. Ward's going to hit you 30 home runs, give you 100 RBIs, bat probably about 260, 270. Pete Alonso going to hit 40 home runs, 45 homers, maybe 50 homers. Who knows? It's Pete Alonso. Both these guys are power bats that are going to bolster the middle of that order so that there's less pressure on Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson. I mean, this is really good. I mean, you got those three young guns. Holiday, you got Jackson Holiday, you got the other two young guns, Rutschman and Henderson, and now you got Alonso and Ward, two really good veterans to add to the mix. You know, it's going to hurt losing Grayson Rodriguez. There's no doubt about that. They need to find more pitching. They did add Ryan Helsley and Andrew Kittredge as well for the bullpen. So Helsley will step in as that closer, and Kittredge will be in there in a supporting role out of the bullpen. So, you know, this guy rates them a C for that. I think that's a little bit harsh. I think they've done a really good job. Now, they do need to bring in more pitching. They have a little bit of a lack of starting pitching. Their ace is that lefty who broke out last year. What's his name? He was with the Marlins before last year, and he never had... Oh, it's Rogers. I think it's Trevor Rogers. Or, let's see. Yeah, it's Trevor Rogers. So they've got Trevor Rogers. They're relying on him big time. He's had one good year in the big league, so that's, you know, for me, it's a little bit questionable. And then you got Dean Kramer and who's that other guy that they have? Kyle Bradish. For me, that's not nearly good enough. That's just not nearly good enough at all. They need to do a lot more to their starting rotation. But nice additions for the Orioles on offense. The Yankees have done next to nothing. They signed Trent Grisham. They re-signed Trent Grisham to a 1-year, $22 million deal. Bellinger and Goldschmidt are both still unsigned, and it seems unlikely that either one's going to come back. I mean, Bellinger seems more likely than Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt was just bad at the end of last year, or pretty much all of last year. I mean, he had no power, just getting singles. That's not what the Yankees want out of their everyday first baseman. They want a guy who's going to hit home runs. Bellinger, I think, you know, they should sign him. He could play first base. He could slot right into that first base position. Then you can they've got a crowded outfield. You can, you know, put Dominguez in the outfield or, you know, somebody else. But they definitely, in my opinion, should re-sign Cody Bellinger. Now, they let Devin Williams walk. He went to the Mets. Not really surprising there. And then also, Luke Weaver. He also went to the Mets. So, both big-time relievers go from one New York team to the other New York team. Devin Williams and Luke Weaver, wow. I mean, the Yankees bullpen was already really bad last year, and this does not help it. This does not help. So, yeah, that's not good. I don't think the Yankees have had a good offseason so far at all. They've done nothing. Now, well, there's still a long way to go, and they could still pull off a big move. We know the Yankees do that. So, there's still some big bats out there available. But, yeah, not a good offseason so far for the Yankees. Still a lot of time left, though. Red Sox added Sonny Gray, Johan Oviedo, and Jake Bennett. Well, that's two really good additions to the starting rotation for the Red Sox. Dustin May, Steven Matz, and Dick Fitz all leave. And I think that, honestly, Dustin May is washed up. His time as a serviceable starting pitcher is over. I don't think he's a viable option anymore after all the surgeries and injuries that he's had. I don't think he's a good starting pitcher anymore in the MLB. Steven Matz has been serviceable, but he's nothing special. And then Dick Fitz, I don't think highly of Dick Fitz. So, yeah. I think it was really good what the Red Sox have done so far. Now, Bregman, Giolito, Ref Snyder, and then relief pitcher Justin Wilson are all unsigned still. And, Bregman was really, really good last year. I think they need to re-sign him, especially after they didn't get either Pete Alonso or Kyle Schwarber. So I definitely think the Red Sox need to re-sign Alex Bregman. The other guys, I think maybe you want to bring Ref Snyder back. He hits lefties really well, and he's a good platoon piece. Maybe you bring back Justin Wilson. And you know what? If you can bring back Lucas Giolito on a team-friendly deal, I am not against that either. So, yeah, the Red Sox are doing pretty well. They've been doing pretty well this offseason so far. This guy gives them a B. I think that's about fair. Tampa Bay. So they brought in Cedric Mullins on a 1-year, $7.5 million deal. They brought in Steven Matz on a 2-year, $15 million deal. And they brought in Jake Fraley on a 1-year, $3 million deal. They let Hauser and Chris Morel walk. And then their big dog out of the bullpen, Pete Fairbanks, remains unsigned. So that's a big free agent player still out there in the market for anyone to go after. Boy, I'd love my Angels to go out and get Pete Fairbanks. He would lock down the back end of that bullpen. But I don't expect that to happen, obviously. But this is a really good offseason for the Rays. This is kind of what we expect them to do. They're never big spenders. They don't spend big money. They bring in good players on team-friendly deals, and that's what we've seen here. Mullins on a cheap 1-year deal, Matt's on a cheap 2-year deal, Fraley on a cheap 1-year deal. All three guys will likely play a good amount for the Rays next year if they stay healthy. And, I could see Mullins playing every day. I could see Fraley playing a good amount of games, maybe platoon out there in the outfield, and then I can see Matt's just being in the starting rotation and just taking his turn 30 times or so, 25, 30 times. I can see that if he's pitching well. So, yeah, I think it's a pretty good offseason for the Rays so far. And you know what? Unfortunately, I'm running out of time here. So that is going to do it for the Cole Mirza Show, episode 2. I got through a good amount of teams in the MLB. I almost got through the entire AL East. You know what? Here, let's finish the AL East so we can say we got done with the entire AL East. There's just one more team left, and it is the Toronto Blue Jays, who just finished in the World Series, lost in 7 games to the LA Dodgers in historic fashion. That was heartbreaking for those Blue Jays fans and the Blue Jays players. They had it. They had it in one hand. They had one hand on the trophy. But those Dodgers, man, I don't know how they do it. I do not know how the Dodgers keep doing this. But that's another conversation for another day. Back to the Blue Jays. Dylan Cease, 7 years, $210 million. When I saw that happen, I thought to myself, overpay. That is an overpay. $30 million per year for Dylan Cease. Now, I'm not sure how old he is off the top of my head, but we're going to find that out right now. So he is under contract. Oh, shoot. What the heck? So he's under contract for the next 7 years. He's already 29. He's going to be 30, actually, on December 28th. Dylan Cease turns 30 years old. So what? Like, the Blue Jays have this guy until he's 37 years old. And you know what? Here, I want to pull up his numbers. I want to pull up Dylan Cease's numbers from last year because they weren't good. I'm sorry. They weren't Cy Young caliber Dylan Cease. That's what we saw when he was with the White Sox. That's why the Padres traded for him, because, this guy was amazing. But, last year was not good. Last year was really bad. So here we go. We got the stats up. So, oh man, this is annoying. Okay, thank you. So we go back and we look at his best year. That was 2022 with the White Sox when he went 14-8. He started 32 games. His WAR was 6.4. Very impressive. He had a 2.20 ERA, a 1.11 WHIP. He threw 184 innings, 227 strikeouts, 78 walks. And yeah, so that's his best season. based off ERA, based off of WHIP, based off of WAR, and he also had the most strikeouts of his career in that season. Now, let's compare that to this past year, 2025, with the San Diego Padres. He went 8-12 on a team that made the playoffs. So that right there should tell you that that's just not good, okay? His WAR was all the way down at 1.1. And by the way, he started the same amount of games in the 2025 season with the Padres that he started with the White Sox in 2022. So there's no difference in the sample size there. You compare the 2.20 ERA in 2022 to a 4.55 ERA in 2025, a 1.33 WHIP in 2025 to a 1.11 WHIP in 2022. He threw only 168 innings this past year compared to the 184 he threw in 2022. He did have 215 strikeouts, and I think that's the redeeming quality and the main reason why he's getting this big contract. It's because he can strike guys out at an insane rate, and that's pretty much all anyone cares about anymore in Major League Baseball, strikeouts. So that's why he's getting $30 million per year. Does he deserve it? In my opinion, no. He has not proven that he deserves that at all, especially after last season. Now, 2 years ago, he was really good. He was really, really good. So he's just been inconsistent, and I don't know if he's worth $30 million per year over 7 years. That's a lot of money, and it's a long contract, and we've seen these long contracts, they usually don't work out well in general. That's just a generality. Like, I'm an Angels fan. I've seen it time and time again. Albert Pujols did not work out well with the long contract. Mike Trout did not work out well. Anthony Rendon did not work out well. Now, I know the Blue Jays and the Angels are very different teams in different organizations. One team is actually competent. The other one is not competent. But I think it's an overpay. But hey, you know what? Maybe Dylan Cease will prove me wrong. And I hope he does. I hope he goes out there and proves me wrong this season and has a great year with the Toronto Blue Jays. And if he does, I mean, it's a big addition. Definitely a big addition for them. So they also brought in Cody Ponce, who this guy comes from the KBO. And again, this one I was really confused by. 3 years, $30 million. He had a dominant season in the KBO, won the MVP there. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was dominant. Okay, nobody hit off him. This guy was in the big leagues back in like 2021 with the Pirates, and his numbers were awful. They were really, really bad. And this guy is just an unknown for me. You know, I've heard people talking big things about him, but I personally don't respect the level of play in the KBO. I think the KBO is a lot worse than Major League Baseball. And just because he had a good year in the KBO doesn't mean he's going to come over to the MLB and, you know, be serviceable. I personally think it's a big risk. 3 years, $30 million, $10 million per year. I think it's a big risk on a guy who's unproven at the Major League Baseball level. And I don't like the move, personally. And then Tyler Rogers is the other guy that the Blue Jays added. That's a good move for them. Their bullpen was horrible all year long last year. That was their biggest weakness. He's going to step into the bullpen. He's going to be able to, you know, eat innings in that bullpen. 3 years, $36 million. That's a good signing. For me, you know, they already gave Vladdy that big contract. It seems unlikely that Bo Bichette's going to be coming back, which is sad. It also seems unlikely that Max Scherzer will be coming back. Chris Bassett, who knows, might benefit them to re-sign him. And then Seranthony Dominguez is the other key unsigned free agent for the Blue Jays. So far, nobody has left their team, though. So, the Blue Jays may end up going after Kyle Tucker as well. So, still a lot of questions to be answered for the Toronto Blue Jays. These guys gave them an A- for their offseason. I don't agree at all. I think they overpaid for Cease. I think that they overpaid for an unproven guy in Cody Ponce. I do like the move for Tyler Rogers. So that's it. I'm going to wrap up the show right here. I got to go. But thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for more videos on this channel. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you maybe gained some valuable information from this. Or hopefully it just was, a little bit of entertainment to pass the time. Either way, have a great Thursday. Enjoy the Rams and the Seahawks tonight. That's a big-time matchup in the NFC West on Amazon Prime Video. And until next time, I will see you later. Take care.